Laser sights are an essential firearms training tool, clearly correcting and improving the two most important shooting fundamentals, aiming and trigger control. Crimson Trace, making laser sights standard equipment. Learn more at crimsontrace.com.
This is Tom Gresham's Gun Talk, now available on iTunes and other podcast clients, and on the free Gun Dealio smartphone app for iPhone and Android. Feel free to call Tom now at 1-TOM-TALK-GUN or 866-825-5486, or email Tom at guntalk.com. Now, once again, here's Tom.
All right, my turn now. I get to talk. Hey, welcome back. Tom Gresham here. It is the second hour of Gun Talk, talking about, well, the events of the day, the events of the week, of course. Talking about the guns that you're shooting, what kind of ammo, what kind of scope. Just got a note from a guy who says, hey, I'll just talk about rifle shooting. Does angle of shot matter up or down? I know bow hunters have different pins for that. Well, for most shooting, no, it doesn't really matter. If it's a very steep angle up or down, bullet will hit a little bit higher than you expect. So you'd aim a little bit lower, but there's a lot of information about that on the web should you want to look that up, angle of the shot. One of the guys who's done a lot of research on shooting and gets it right in his novels is Stephen Hunter, novelist extraordinaire. This guy really is a heck of a writer. I've been a fan since the very, very earliest books. Steve joins us right now. Steve, how are you?
I'm very well, Tom. It's so nice speaking with you.
Oh, I tell you what, it is great. The first, of course, I'm a huge fan of Point of Impact, but even before that, what was the one about the sniper, the very first one? I'm trying to remember all the way back.
It was called The Master Sniper. It was my first book. Yep, and it was it was just great fun for me. It did very well, and it seems to have lasted in the imagination of the public, and I kind of changed my life in the direction it took. So it's a very pleasant memory, and I'm so grateful for you to remember it because it was close to 40 years ago.
Well, it was. I was riding the train into D.C. every day, and a friend says, "Hey, you got to read this book." And of course, you were writing for the Washington Post, as I remember at the time.
Well, I was writing for the Baltimore Sun in those days. I did
Baltimore
later go
Sun.
to the Washington Post.
Okay, there you go. That's it. So you kind of got into writing about guns and shooting and people who like guns. And then the one thing that struck me as I read your books is this guy gets it. You're a researcher, but unlike some novelists who just kind of gloss over the gunny parts, you put a lot of work into making sure you get it right. What was it that got you moving in that direction to think that part's important?
Well, it's how can I say this? It's not important. It's everything. That is to say that from a very early age, for whatever reasons, I was not raised in a hunting family. I was raised in a suburban family. But from a very early age, I was taken. My imagination was provoked. My energy was stirred. My dreams were speeded up, whatever, by dramas of the firearm and the firearms themselves. And everything it just became a kind of second life for me. And I read obsessively. Now, I didn't because, and I confess this, I was at one point in my life, because I was a terrible conformist, I was kind of anti-gun. But I realized as I got through my 20s that I had to be who I was, and that pretending to be anti-gun was my way of trying to fit in with the crowd. And I realized that as a writer, if you're trying to fit in, you're dead. You have to be who you are. And at about age 26, I just sort of turned everything around and fully embraced the gun lifestyle, gun reality. And one of my motives has always been to depict the act of shooting accurately and understand the play of ballistics on events in a way that other authors at that time particularly, and even to a certain degree today, although I have many imitators, as you might know.
No kidding.
I try and, I want people to understand what is and isn't possible, what is and what isn't good marksmanship, ethics, morality, and I sort of try and preach the purity of the gun. That if you that when you're mastering the gun, you're mastering yourself. You're mastering self-discipline. You're mastering extremely technical aspect of life. You're committing yourself to a certain way, and the values, I've always said, of firearms as properly taught, not Hollywood style, but the values of firearms in gun culture are extremely positive, and people benefit. They don't from their embrace of the classical disciplines of firearms.
Absolutely. Hey, Stephen, hold on a second here. I want to take a quick break, or to come back, I want to talk about this new TV series based on, originally one of your novels and then based on a movie. We're talking with Stephen Hunter, of course, the novelist, Point of Impact, Dirty White Boy, Sniper's Honor, The Third Bullet. It goes on and on and on. If you like reading good thrillers and you like when they get the guns right, you want to read some of Stephen's novels. We'll be right back with more Gun Talk.
In the field or on the range, you need a trigger you can trust. For over 60 years, Timney triggers have been trusted by hunters and shooters everywhere. A Timney trigger could mean the difference between a great shot and a miss. Timney triggers are proudly made in the USA and come with a lifetime warranty. To order, go to timneytriggers.com. That's TIMNEY triggers.com.
You got your carry permit, and that's good. But you know you could use more training. Get the DVDs, which have what you need. Springfield Armory presents Concealed Carry 1 and Concealed Carry 2 with Bata Group. Learn specific concealed carry skills from Top Gun fighting trainers. Get trained. Be prepared. This really is life and death. ShopGunTalk.com. That's ShopGunTalk.com.
FN handguns bear the DNA of legends, of John Browning, the father of modern firearms, of the artisans and craftsmen who brought his genius to life, of the brave souls who defended our freedom on the front lines for the last 100 years, and the brave souls who defend it on the home front today. FN handguns, the DNA of legends in the palm of your hand. Ask for FN, the world's most battle-proven firearms.
Brownells has always given you an advantage with their huge selection of forever guaranteed gun parts, ammunition, shooting accessories, and more. And now they're offering you the Edge. For just $49.95, Brownells Edge covers your standard shipping and any return shipping cost for 1 year. Brownells Edge members also receive discount expedited shipping and exclusive offers. Get the Edge today by visiting brownells.com/edge.
Are you looking for a place to shoot? The National Shooting Sports Foundation has a great website called wheretoshoot.org. It's the largest database of shooting ranges on the internet. It's also a great resource for shooters where you can find video tips, printable targets, and a lot more. Find it online at wheretoshoot.org. And while you're there, download their free iPhone app. That's wheretoshoot.org.
All right, back with you, Tom Gresham. We're talking with Stephen Hunter, the novelist. Steve, of course, we do want to talk about this new series, but I also want to at least mention your latest book, Jack the Ripper. What's that about?
Oh, I Ripper is the name of the book. I took a little vacation from guns, and I got very interested in solving the Jack the Ripper crime. It's England, 1888. I had great fun pretending to be two separate Englishmen, one a journalist investigating it, and another a professor assisting the journalist. And it's I write in their voices, and I contrast their points of view as they investigate this series of 5 horrific murders over. It took place over about 2 months in the autumn of the knife, I call it, and the fall of 1888 in a very seedy prostitution-clogged district of London called Whitechapel. I'd always had a fascination for this, and I came up with what I thought was a really good idea, and I built the novel around that idea. And I'll be honest with you, it wasn't the biggest hit in the world. I don't think people, read me to read about Jack the Ripper. However, I think it's a really good book on its own. If you go to it, if your first question isn't, where's Bob Lee Swagger, you'll be all right. If your first question is where's Bob, you're in for a really disappointing 300.
That's right. Yeah. Well, speaking of Bob the Nailer, we've got obviously the movie. It was a 2007 called Shooter that came out based on Point of Impact, the really good book. And I got to tell you, like a lot of people, and I know that probably you have inside info and it's not what you thought it would be, but I thought the movie was pretty darn good, even though before that I was not a huge fan of Mark Wahlberg, and then I kind of came around. But now it's going to become a TV series, right?
Yeah, I think the reason for this is that the movie, again, was not a huge hit, but it had an incredibly successful afterlife on cable. And it seems like they ran it every 3 weeks, and it acquired millions of hits, and thousands of people who had never seen it in the theaters, saw it on cable and really, really liked it. And so it didn't go away. It got bigger over the years. So the same people, actually Mark Wahlberg is one of the producers, decided to turn it into a cable TV series. And this is 2 removes from my book. I wrote a book. They made a movie. And this is a TV series that's based on the movie, which is based on the book. Now, Tom, I have seen the first episode, so I can comment on it.
Okay.
Okay. Unsurprisingly, I liked it. What an astonishment! I will say, I thought, trying to be honest, I think they did a really good job. It's another world crisis. It's not. Mine was Salvador. Then the movie in 2007 was Africa, and now the background is Putin's adventures in Ukraine. And
that makes sense.
They're fortunately the world keeps producing crises for me to use, or for thriller writers to use as background. And a young man named Ryan Phillippe, some will remember him from a movie that gun people like very much called Way of the Gun, is the star. He's a very young-looking guy in his 40s. They flew me up there, and I did a little cameo in the part, and I appear in the movie with Ryan. I'm on for about 0.2 of a second. I don't think I'm going to get my own series based on that. But he was very low key and he underplayed everything when I worked with him. But when I saw the movie or the hour episode, I was amazed at how good he was. He was much more expressive. He sort of understands what scenes you can do a lot with, and what scenes are just pipe fitting, exposition setting that just have to be sort of gotten through. And that was the kind of scene he did with me. So he didn't give much. He let me ham it up. I thought I was Laurence Olivier there, and they were very kind to me. They let me go and go and go. Very good, Stephen. Very good. Now, could you tone it down a little bit? And I can feel.
Well, of course, the whole time they know that you're not going to actually. They're going to cut you out anyway.
Exactly. They were just being nice to me. If I'd been an actual actor, they would have said, "Get the hell off the set, you idiot!" But they were very nice to me. And so, as I say, if you have to see what I look like in person. This is the one place you'll get your wish. But keep
okay. I gotta ask you the whole Bob Lee swagger. I mean, they've held on to that. This is Bob Lee swagger, the sniper, the shooter.
Time.
I mean, he's there. He's heroic. He's there to save the day. The whole thing.
Yeah, and he's Ryan plays Bob. They made some changes. My book and the whole arc of the Swagger series has been the restoration of the betrayed hero and his return to society, his return from exile to a place of honor. And not only does he do that for himself, he consistently does that for other snipers. And because I'm a great believer in the men who are at the point of the point and the women who are at the point of the point of the point of the spear ought to be revered and not condemned and considered psychotic. They're out there downrange for us, and they deserve our respect and love. And that was taken from them by, well, we don't have to go into that, but we know
that's
why
a whole other
who
story,
took it from them. Yeah, and so in this book, he is married. Now, I'll say one thing about it, humorously negative. Roger and Gene on TV, they used to have a category of movie goofiness called "How do they afford that apartment?" And that was when some beat cop would go to his house in a movie, and it's a fabulous modernistic apartment on the 38th floor of a downtown. Well, I will say in this movie, Bob Lee Swagger lives with a beautiful wife and daughter in a mansion overlooking Puget Bay or something like that. I mean, I would move into that house tomorrow if I had a chance. And of course, I imagined him in a little rusty trailer off in the woods. Well, that's okay.
Well, and that's the way you wrote it in Point of Impact. You had him in a trailer in the backwoods of Arkansas. I got to let people know this is going to be on USA Network, and it starts, I believe it is July 19th. July 19th on the USA 19th. Network.
Either 9 or 10. I'm not sure which.
I think it's 10 o'clock Eastern, 9 o'clock Central. Bob Lee Swagger. It's title Shooter, has the same title as the movie. It's executive producers Mark Wahlberg. And on the initial episode, we get to see novelist Stephen Hunter, at least briefly, if you look really fast. I might want to DVR that one.
Yes, well, I think I will. And I think I'll have a image blown up and, I don't know, broadcast on the front of my house in Federal Hill in Baltimore.
There you go.
I won't do that,
your very brief entree into being on TV. Steve, look, exactly. I appreciate it. I'm really looking forward to it. I am definitely going to set my DVR because I love the book. I liked the movie. I can't wait to see what they do with the TV series because Lord knows we need something good to watch during the summer anyway. So best of luck. Yeah, no kidding. Thank you so much for spending some time with us.
My pleasure, Tom. As always.
All right, you take care. All right. Stephen Hunter, if you like books, if you like guns and books, man, you got to get some of his stuff. Start off with Point of Impact. No kidding. Go find it somewhere. Point of Impact. It's really terrific. All right, back to the callers. Let's pick up Matthew on line 1 out of Metairie, Louisiana. Hey, Matthew.
Hey, Tom. So as I was watching the events of the week, it was just heart-sickening and just gut-wrenching. First is 2 men shot by the cops, and one of them, the guy in Baton Rouge, he kind of sketchy history, maybe something more going on there, and it looks like he may have had a gun when he was not supposed to. The guy in Wisconsin, my first reaction is, wait, when is it illegal for black people to have guns? Then the reaction in Dallas, I was like, oh, this is getting ugly. I just keep going back to, we got 2 wars that have caused this dysfunction in our society. We got the war on drugs and the war on poverty. And I don't know how to unbox them, but I know Hillary is not the answer.
Well, of course, now they want the third one. They want the war on guns, which will, there we go again. It's just, let's ban something that can't be banned. And this is not even a consumable to make it, look back on the war on drugs. You have a consumable that once it's used, you have to get more of it. Once you have a gun, it's there for 100 years. It's not a consumable. It's a whole different thing. But And look, Matthew, appreciate it. I love the gun banners who simply don't know anything about guns, nothing. And weirdly enough, they seem to be proud of being ignorant. Well, I don't have to know anything about guns, okay? But you say that here's some features you want to ban. Well, yeah, because that's what makes it an assault weapon. Well, it's got a bayonet lug on it. Well, yeah. Bayonettings, really? Well, it's got a barrel shroud. Well, yeah, we got to get rid of that. Well, a barrel shroud's a safety device. It keeps you from burning your hand on the barrel, which gets hot. And on semi-auto versus full auto, we can go into that, of course. The gun banners just seem somehow to be okay with being stupid. I mean, at a certain point, it's not just ignorance, like as in lack of knowledge. It's just being stupid about the whole thing. And then we had the one, do you remember some legislator, I can't remember who she was, where she was, but she was explaining that if you could ban these quote-unquote high-capacity magazines, once they use them up, once they shoot all the ammo in them, then they'll all be gone. It's like saying, we'll ban buckets because once people pour all the water out of their buckets, there won't be any buckets. You're just going, what? What? This is just a box you put ammo in, and when it's all gone, you put more in it. Absolutely no understanding whatsoever. By the way, the shooter in Dallas we're now hearing was using an SKS. Just not even on the so-called assault weapons ban list in most states would have that. Doesn't fit the narrative. Boy, doesn't keep them from talking about we have to ban the thing that wasn't used there. Huh? It's weird. It's odd. It's otherworldly. It's like we're talking past each other sometimes, and you're thinking, what are you people talking about? And they clearly don't understand us. By the way, I just sent out a tweet. If you're not checking it out, I am at Gun Talk on Twitter. Sent out a tweet with a link to a really, really great article published by JPFO on how to debate with an anti-gunner and win. I think it's worth your time.
Want your opinion to make a difference? Log on to our website and take the Gun Talk poll, www.guntalk.com. Now, once again, opinion page regular contributor for the Washington Times, here's Tom.
All right, so what is your take? Have you had a traffic stop? You been stopped by a police officer and had a discussion about your carry gun? How did that go? What did you do? What did he or she do? How did it work out? I'd love to get that kind of a range report, if you will. That'd be a range report for you. Let's see here. I want to get to Joe on line 3. He's out of Katy, Texas. Hey, Joe, thanks for calling back.
Yeah, hey, Tom. So at every stop, there's two parties minimally. There's me and the cop, and we each come to that traffic stop with frame of reference. And I'm a 58-year-old white guy, and I come to the frame of reference where I was taught to respect police officers and to give them every privilege that's due their badge. And I also think that I probably have an advantage that I have a little bit of a white privilege that I bring into that traffic stop, too, just because I am white. I got to believe that there's something to that. However, that cop also has a frame of reference that he's bringing to that, and sometimes they're pretty scared, and I think they get nervous, and so I'm going to do everything I can to show him respect, and I'm going to do everything that I can to give him the privilege that he has for his badge. He's got a job to do, and I've got to help him do his job. If I'm sitting there, whether I'm white, black, or pink, and I'm making him nervous, then it may not go very well. And I don't care about privilege in this case. I think it's more about the frame of reference that you have. And I heard Pastor Hagee the other day talking about that. And he said that people need to start reframing their frame of reference about police officers and start to respect them again, because the world is starting to turn away from the police officers. And I grew up in a time and age where police officers were my friends, and I'm going to continue to feel that way.
Very interesting, and I appreciate that. Joe, that's excellent. Frame of reference is basically it's a collection of your experience, and it's also an attitude that you bring to something. We can control that to some extent. To some extent, we are a collection of our experiences, but we can change our perspective, our attitude on things, how we go into a situation. As I say, it's not the time or the place to try to get up on somebody, to one-up anybody, to I'll show you, or how dare you, or I'm a good guy, can't you tell that I'm a good guy? Why should I do that? Why are you stopping me? I'm being inconvenienced. I'm late for my flight. Too bad. Suck it up, act like an adult, act like a responsible adult. We have a situation here. It may be a little bitty deal. It may be, maybe you got a muffler dragging and you didn't know it. It really is. Or sometimes the taillight out is actually just a way to pull somebody over that they think there's something else going on there. I get that. I understand that. It's the old illegal lane usage, lane change deal. Yeah, right. Okay. Well, I don't know why you really pulled me over, but let's go there. Yeah, and it, as you say, it may be because you match a description of somebody else that doesn't involve you, but your car, the way you look, you just fit a description, and they are going to talk to you until they sort it out. Imagine you fit the description of an armed robbery suspect, which is what it's beginning to sound like may have happened up in Minnesota. The officer has seen the pictures, has seen the report of an armed robbery. 2 guys with guns robbing a place. What do you think his frame of reference is when he comes in to talk to you? He's thinking armed criminal. Okay. Nervous. Maybe he's fresh out of the academy. Maybe he's been there for 20 years. Nervous. At least wary. At least very careful. And has made the determination before getting out of his car, he's going home that night. He's going to do whatever it takes to come home to his family. You need to make that determination also. I will do whatever it takes to come home to my family, so we're going to go slow and easy, and we're going to talk a lot. We're going to exchange a lot of information. And I'm not going to make any moves until we've talked it out. Now, on the other hand, I get this email from Andy. He says, "Hey, Tom, in a state like Idaho, where anyone and everyone, except a felon or someone under 18, can carry a firearm legally, opened or concealed, without a permit, why would you tell an officer that you're carrying a firearm? It should be a common thing. Are you going to tell him that you have a cell phone or a pocket knife? It should not matter. You have just as much right as the officer. It's like telling him you're wearing pants or a black tie." Andy, I get what you're saying. You have a right to do that. The officer, on the other hand, has pulled you over for some reason. He doesn't know who you are. And if you say, well, I shouldn't have to do that, that is an attitude that you need to get over. You can say that somewhere else and say, I shouldn't have to do that. But look, let's be smart about this. Let's be safe about this. It's kind of like saying, well, I know I put my gun away unloaded. There's no reason for me to check it when I go back and pick it up. I don't have to open the action of it, except that I do. Every time. Every time. Why? Because it's what we do to make sure we're safe. And I would offer my thought that kind of maybe conducting yourself this way, get your mind right, get the right attitude is what you do to make sure that you and your family are safe in the event of some kind of a traffic stop. What's your take? Have you been pulled over? Why you had a gun in the car? Did you discuss it with the officer? How did it go? Give me a range report. 866-TALK-GUN.
Crimson Trace announces Laser Guard Pro, designed for today's most popular concealed carry firearms, combining a red or green laser sight with 150 lumen light and featuring instinctive activation. Laser Guard Pro takes personal defense to the next level. Available now for the Smith & Wesson Shield. Visit crimsontrace.com to find a dealer near you and to learn more about why Crimson Trace is making laser sights standard equipment.
You're at a gun store and your phone tells you about hot deals. Want to know about special offers? No problem when you have Gun Dealio, the free app for your smartphone. Gun Dealio delivers the latest deals on guns, ammo, and extras direct to your phone. Don't overpay for your shooting gear. Get Gun Dealio. It's free at the App Store and Google Play. Trigger the deals with Gun Dealio. GunDealio.com.
If you're looking for a safe and trusted way to sell your firearms, look no further than Dury's Gun Shop. I trusted them to sell my dad's collection. They built their business for over 50 years on honesty and customer service. Dury's Guns will buy any size collection or estate, none too big or too small. Selling your firearms to Dury's Guns is easy. Go with the pros. I trust Dury's Guns. DurysGuns.com. Hi, this is Tom Gresham from Gun Talk. America is losing critical wildlife habitat at a rate of 1 football field every hour. It's happening on the Louisiana coast, but it's critical to all sportsmen and conservationists. These precious wetlands provide winter habitat for more than 10 million ducks and geese annually, waterfowl that migrate north through dozens of states. Don't shrug it off. Get involved. You can help. Visit vanishingparadise.org.
In the war on terror, fighting crime in the streets, in competition and homes around the world, one name in firearms stands out: Sig Sauer. Our pistols and rifles are renowned for their unfailing performance. This same commitment to excellence can be found in our line of SigTac accessories and the training offered by the Sig Sauer Academy. For unmatched quality, reliability, and innovation when it counts, choose Sig Sauer. Visit sigsauer.com today.
All right, back with you. 866 Talk Gun. James on line 2. He's in Oklahoma. Hey, James, what happened on this traffic stop, dude?
I was just going across Arizona with my kids, and I was going to be, on the road for a couple of days. So I put my .22 pistol in the glove compartment, and I got to go a little too fast on the freeway, interstate, and Highway Patrol pulled me over, and he asked me for my registration and everything. And I told him it was in the glove compartment, and he said, well, just get it out. And I said, well, I got a pistol in there. And he goes, just take it out and put it on the dash and give me your registration. And that was about it. And he asked me why I had it. And I said, well, I've got my kids and everything with me. And I said, I want to be, safe on the road. And he said, well, that's okay. And he didn't give me a ticket. He just gave me a warning. And because I was going a little bit too fast. But this was 30-something years ago. But now I wouldn't put a gun in my glove compartment anymore, because now, after what happened in Minnesota, I'd be scared to.
Well, I wouldn't be afraid to. I pretty much got a gun on my belt almost all the time, so that part doesn't worry me. It's just a case of how's the interaction going. I think that's really the issue there. Look, I appreciate the call, appreciate that range report. On line 1, Lee is somewhere in Kentucky. Hey, Lee, you got a range report for us?
Yeah, 36 years with a Yaki slide holster. It's an old and great design that people don't seem to know about anymore. I got one when I got my 1911 in 1980, and I've never carried the 1911 in any other holster for more than 2 hours since, because it was too painful, and I went back to the Yaki slide.
Okay, let me explain to people what a Yaki slide is, okay? A Yaki slide is a fairly small piece of leather that goes onto the belt, and basically the gun is exposed above the belt and below the belt. It just slips in. It is, I guess the Yaki slide can be considered the earliest form of minimalist holster, would you think?
I've I don't know of anything smaller earlier, but I also don't know of anything that's more comfortable for me to carry a 1911 in. The gun just sits in it the way the gun would sit if it were held there by magic.
They are comfortable. I've used them. Now, your Yaki slide, does it cover the trigger guard so that the trigger guard is protected from just something bumping into it?
Yes, it does. And so does everyone that I have ever seen. I have three, one by Milt Sparks, one by DeSantis, and one by Don Hume. And the Milt Sparks isn't for a 1911, it's for something weird. And the DeSantis and the Hume are both for the 1911. And the Hume holds the whole gun a little bit higher, which is more comfortable when I'm standing and less comfortable when I'm sitting. And the DeSantis holds it a little bit lower, but they're both more comfortable than any other holster I have ever carried a 1911 in. And because they hold it so close to the body so naturally, it just sits there under a long shirt and nobody notices.
I will tell you there's one other advantage, and look, I appreciate the call, Lee. One other advantage of the Yaki slide, it's kind of interesting. If you have to go, imagine you were open carrying. Okay, let's just go with this scenario. You're open carrying, and you have to go somewhere where you can't take your gun, post office being a good example. And you just want to take your gun out of the holster and put it in the car. You could walk into that place with a Yaki slide holster on your belt with people looking at it, and they would have no idea what it was. It's that small. Now, of course, we do have more modern designs now. We have things like alien gear, crossbreed holsters, people who are making really comfortable concealed carry. Well, they're open carry too, can be, but designs that are, would you say modern? At least they've been introduced more recently, and tons of people love those too. Once again, we go back to the whole deal. I've talked about this before. You will try a number of different holsters, and I suggest you try some of these. Some of the modern ones, the cool part, alien gear, crossbreed, they actually have kind of like a buy it, and if it doesn't work for you, if you don't like it, you get your money back. That's a no-risk guarantee. I hear tons of people who love that design, but had not thought about the Yaki slide for 2 days. I was, weirdly enough, this is so weird, just like 2 days ago, I was digging around in my holster bag thinking, I wonder where that Yaki slide is. I honestly was looking for that thing, so there you go. Lee is on line 3 out of Tulsa. Hey, Lee, welcome to Gun Talk.
Well, sir, would you consider it safe to carry one of these micro 1911s, like a SIG P938, while it's cocked and locked and worn in the chamber?
Yes.
Okay.
Simple. Yes. Yeah. Anytime I carry 1911, I carry it cocked and locked with one in the chamber. A gun without a round in the chamber is an unloaded gun, as far as I'm concerned. The 1911s are designed to be carried in condition 1, cocked and locked, hammer back, safety on. So that's how I carry them. Some people get nervous about the Series 70 versus the Series 80. I don't lose a lot of sleep over that. If you do, a suggestion. You may want to consider, if you have a Series 70 1911 and you're worried about possibly dropping, you might want to go to a titanium firing pin. I'm not an expert at gunsmithing, but what I hear from the experts is that goes a long way towards eliminating that consideration or that concern. So just food for thought. If you have any other thoughts on that, I would love to get them, because anytime we get to talk about 1911s, I am in. Who was? Ruger has a new 1911 in 9mm, just announced. Do love the 1911 in 9, and I know all the hardcore 1911 guys are going, yeah, but this is supposed to be a 45. Yeah, it is, until you shoot a 9, and then you go, oh, that's nice. 866-TALK-GUN. You can call me. We'll put you on the air. Yeah, my son Ryan had traffic stopped a few years ago and informed the officer that he was carrying. Officer said, all right, fine, just basically leave it where it is. Did the whole deal. Did not get a ticket. And then in the end, here's the interesting part. As they're finishing up, the officer's about to leave. He says, "Oh, no, yeah, by the way, thanks for carrying." Yeah. Let's talk to Tom on line 4 out of Hemp Hill, Texas. Hey, Tom, what happened on your stop?
Hey, Tom, how you doing? This is Tom in T-Bend over here. Yeah, I got stopped in Austin. I busted a amber light, and the cop stopped me, and I handed him my driver's license and my CHL back then. And he says, I told him, I said, I am carrying. He said, okay. He said, where is it? I said, it's 3 o'clock in the waistband. He said, well, he says, don't make any sudden moves. And I told him, I said, well, really, there's no reason for either one of us to make a sudden move. And this guy just cracked up. And then my son was stopped here a couple of months ago coming out here to see us. He was going 2 miles an hour over the speed limit, and the highway patrol stopped him. I guess he just wanted to see what he was doing. My son handed him the driver's license and handgun license and told him he was carrying. He says, where's your gun? He says, 3 o'clock in the waistband, my primary, and my backup is a leg holster. He says, your backup? He says, you have a backup?
Yeah, that's smart. As we like to say, 1 is none, 2 is 1. If you have 2, maybe one of them's going to work. So, yeah, I like. Yeah, and also guarantee the officer had a backup.
Oh yeah, in both cases they were real good about it. It gave him a warning ticket, and he went on.
Yeah, exactly. I've had officers say, well, just don't do anything sudden with your gun, and I won't do anything sudden with mine. Okay, that'll work for both of us. There you go. So I appreciate the story, Tom. That's good stuff. John, Tulsa, Oklahoma, line 2. Your story, sir.
Yeah, well, I'm a bit of a speeder. I've been pulled over probably 10 times, since I got my concealed weapons permit. And I'd say most of my interactions have been overwhelmingly positive. I always identify it, up front. It's normally in the glove box, normally not on me, but I've never once been asked to see it. I found that it's more of an icebreaker than anything. Most of the little traffic stops that occur here, that they usually kind of bring you in the front seat, kind of talk there. And, like I said, it's been more of an icebreaker. We'll talk a little bit about shooting, and I've had a couple thank me for carrying, and I've just had one bad experience, and that was when I was riding. When I was younger, I had a sport, motorcycle, and that was the one time where that officer said, don't reach for it. And I was almost treated like a criminal, I think, that night, where I'd never been treated like that before. So I'd say overall it's been positive, but I just, let them know, and I never make any movements toward it, and they never ask to see it or anything.
Yep, exactly. And you can diffuse a situation, and as Jeffrey said, and thanks for the call and an email, he said, look, when you got an interaction, if one person is agitated and one person is acting calm, you can prevent it from going more and more agitated. That's true in every situation. So don't escalate it. Try to de-escalate the whole deal. I like the one, a friend of mine was coming back from a gun show. He's a dealer and got pulled over. And the officer said, are there any guns in the car? And he says, yes. She says, where are they? He says, well, they're everywhere. And the officer says, sir, I ask you a serious question. He said, well, I'm answering you. He says, I've got like 40 guns in the car. Really? He said, like 5 minutes later, they're in the back of the car. They're opening it all up. Oh, that's cool. Look at that. That's cool, too. So they're having an impromptu gun show on the side of the road. You never know. Smile, be courteous, be polite. Understand it's a tough job out there, okay? I mean, there it is. So it's not as easy as you think. A lot of us would say, hey, I don't want that job. Yeah, but there are people who are doing it, and they're protecting us. When we come back, let's talk about sights for your guns, what's new and what might work for you.